Something we get asked all the time is, what do I need to start overlanding? Well, it's pretty simple, and yet it's not so simple sometimes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a few things that I think are the absolute basics. Then I'm going to bring on some overlanding legends. We've got Dewie from Colorado Mall Crawlers, we've got Tyler from Independence Overland, and we've got Matt from Lowelander Outdoors. And I think between all of us, we're going to give you some great information on things that you need to consider and things that you need to know and have before starting your overlanding journey. Now, I'm going to start off with some basics, and then at the end, I've got a couple little whammies that I think are important that you should stick around for. Well, first, you need a vehicle, right? And it doesn't really matter what vehicle you have as long as it can get you where you want to go. Early on, I used to drive a BMW X3, and I would take that on trails and I would go camping with it. It got me where I wanted to go. It couldn't get me to other places I wanted to go, which is why eventually we upgraded to our Jeep JL Optimus that you're familiar with. And now we have our Gladiator, which is going to be a dedicated overland vehicle. So a vehicle that can get you to where you want to go. And if where you want to go is forest service roads and some nice campgrounds, you don't need much of a vehicle. If you want to go way out into the backcountry where it takes some serious wheeling to get to, you're going to need a vehicle capable of doing that. So whatever it is that you want to do, you need a vehicle that can get you there. Second, you need food and water. I'm going to combine those two. You need food and water, right? You need to eat, you need to drink, you need to have plenty of water for your day, and you need to have food to survive. These are basics, nothing that common sense wouldn't tell you that you need, right? And third, you need shelter. You need some kind of tent and a sleeping bag. That's all you need. You can go to Walmart and buy everything that you need for under $100, and you can get out there and start camping and enjoying the outdoors. You don't need extravagant rooftop tents. You don't need crazy, diesel heaters. You don't need all that stuff. Those are all nice luxury items that you pick up down the road as you go out on an adventure, and you're like, okay, I want to step this piece of our adventure up. And so you upgrade something. You want to be more comfortable, so you get a better mat, for your tent. You want, whatever it is, you want to be warmer. You get a nicer sleeping bag or a diesel heater. Those types of things. You get them over time. Those aren't things that you need to go out and get right away. Our first trip, my first trip anyway, with the Gladiator was to figure out, what do I need on the Gladiator to make my adventures happen? Do I need more storage? Yeah, I needed some place to put more stuff. So first up, I'm going to bring you Dewie from Colorado Mall Crawlers with his take on what you need before you start overlanding.
Well, I want to thank Kerry for having me on his channel so I can talk to the amazing Trail Traveler crew. And my suggestion for getting into overlanding, or my tip, is get to know your vehicle. Now, I know that sounds like common sense, but what I really am talking about is daily drive your vehicle that you're going to take on adventures. You don't have to daily drive it every day, but I would if you could, because you'll get to learn how the vehicle really performs. You'll get to know every little thing about the vehicle. And take it one step further. Before you get out there on an overlanding adventure, go into an off-road park, go onto some easy trails, take your friends with them, and really learn how your vehicle performs in the dirt. It's going to help you so much. And when you are in those really tough overlanding situations like bad weather or just washouts, all kinds of stuff that can happen when you're out there on a multi-day adventure, you'll know, or you'll at least feel a little bit more confident because you've had so much experience with your vehicle. And that definitely is my probably best recommendation. I'm sure to many of you guys that's pretty common sense, but you never know.
Thanks a ton, Dewie. I absolutely agree. A lot of people just don't know their vehicles very well. And we see it all the time on the forums and on Facebook groups, people are like, oh, I was out somewhere and I couldn't figure out how to get my vehicle into 4-wheel drive. It happens, you know? So those things are really important. Know your vehicle. Know how to switch from 4 high to 4 low and, you know, back and forth, and how to engage your lockers if you have them. Learn your vehicle. That's what's going to get you around. Learn the capabilities of your vehicle. Take it out with some friends, you know, some other vehicles, so that you don't end up in a bad situation, but learn what your vehicle can do and how to make it do those things, right? I mean, we got a brand new vehicle. I'm having to learn, oh, it's got this thing called Off-Road Plus mode. What does it do? How does it work? How does it affect the driving characteristics? These are all things you need to learn about your vehicle, how to shift it into the different gears. All right, next up, my friend Tyler over at Independence Overland. He's got some great tips for you.
Hey guys, Tyler with Independence Overland, and Carrie reached out to me asking me if I would recommend 2 things that you cannot go overlanding without. And I had to give this some thought, because I would imagine the type of person watching a video like this hasn't done much camping or done much of this, because really at the end of the day, it is just car camping. So I think really knowledge is going to be one of my recommendations. Or what do I do when my lithium battery won't charge anymore because it's too cold outside? There's situations where it gets so cold that propane won't flow anymore. Everybody, I think, gets into this and they buy some of their first gear, whether that's a cook system or it's a heater or a tent. So really dive into some reviews on anything that you're buying and have knowledge around them, and just have some basic knowledge on your 4-wheel drive system if you're using a 4-wheel drive system. You'll learn so much watching tow and recovery videos on how to use a hook for your winch. A lot of people buy that kind of stuff and they don't have the knowledge really on how to do it. Using items like that, things can go really wrong really fast. If it comes to something that is very technical, like winching, really dive into that. You can learn a lot just watching videos, and even write it down, make some notes of it if you need to, because I think knowledge is one of the most important things you're gonna need going into it at the beginning. And honestly, still, even in my situation, I've been doing this for a long time, knowledge is key. It makes such a difference of getting yourself into good situations and out of bad situations. So that's my first tip. Okay, so number 2, and this kind of comes along with knowledge, but I think having a medical kit and a fire starting kit are very important. If you cut your hand making dinner or something out here in a place like this, or burn yourself, you need to have ways to deal with that. Carry some sort of a medical kit. I know there's companies like MyMedic that sell that kind of stuff, and I've put my own kit together in the past. I'll probably try some other one out in the future. There's tons of options out there that are well built. Just, I would recommend not buying the cheapest thing you find on Amazon, because a lot of those products that are gonna be in that package are very cheap. And when they dry out, when they sit in your vehicle in that medical kit and they dry out over time, those Band-Aids won't even stick anymore after a very short amount of time. I guess this might count as a third recommendation, but I would say a fire starting kit, some sort of a fire starter and a lighter. I prefer electric lighters. There's the little plasma lighters. They recharge. They work at high altitudes, something you may not know, and this goes along with experience and knowledge to some extent. But like a Bic lighter may not work at 12,000 feet because some gases just don't ignite very easily. So having an electric lighter and some fire starters, a way to start a fire, flint and steel even, are very easy to use. This applies more to my experience doing backcountry hunting more than overlanding, but now that I've done that, I would not want to go anywhere without a way to make a fire. Because if you get caught up in a place like this, just going out on a hike, twist an ankle or something, you fall down a hill, you might need to build a fire. So carry that kind of stuff with you, because overlanding does get you into very remote places. And yes, usually there's gonna be another vehicle coming along, but you need to rely on yourself. And I think that should be prioritized above a lot of other stuff. So those are my recommendations.
Thanks, Tyler. Absolutely agree with you. Knowing your equipment is absolutely crucial. Knowing how everything works, testing things out before you go. You know, you bought a new camp lantern. How does it work? How does it function? You've got a new stove. How does it work? How does it function? How do you use it? Those are all great tips. Knowing your equipment, being out at a campsite, and often in not great conditions, you know, that happens unexpectedly, and trying to figure out some new gear, not the time to do it. Do it while you're at home. Secondly, first aid kit. I always have a first aid kit in my vehicles, all times. There's no exception to it. You never know what's going to happen to you or someone else that you need to be prepared for. And always being able to light a fire. Again, something I'm absolutely in agreement with. I always have a means of making fire. My personal favorite is the Blackbeard fire starters. I've just never had a problem with those. I carry an electric match in my camp kit, and I have a ferrule rod, which, is like a striker thing as a backup. I usually use that just for practice, but when it comes right down to it, an electric match is the way to go. So things that I always have with me no matter what. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Matt over at Lowelander Outdoors for his take on things you need to have.
What's going on, trail travelers? This is Matt from Lowelander Outdoors, and Carrie asked me, what would you think, or what would you do, or how would you suggest somebody get into overlanding? And what I say is I started in a Kia Rio, and now I have this Tacoma with the rooftop tent and all those things, and like that's just all bells, whistles, and comfort. You don't really need all that thing. Like I said, I started in a Kia. But one thing I would suggest, going out like right off the bat, if you're going to go out to remote destinations or backcountry or anything off grid like that, is a communication device of some kind. And I'm not talking about your cell phone. It's basically a brick. A lot of the places we go in Utah, there's no cell coverage out there, so that thing doesn't do you any good. One thing I suggest, or one thing that I use, is this. This is a SpotX. This is a satellite communication device. You can send text messages, you can get text messages, you can send check-ins, you can pre-program this thing so that you just hit check-in and it emails or sends your GPS coordinates to a pre-programmed destination like a cell phone, or like we had it set up with our parents' emails and stuff like that. And it's just a good way to stay in contact. If something goes wrong and you don't have a way to communicate with the outside world, this is a great way to do it. This isn't a plug for SpotX. This is just what I used. I know there's Garmin, there's Zillow, something like that. But there's multiple different types, and they're relatively inexpensive. And you'll feel a lot safer when you get into these places if you have a way to communicate with the outside world. Another thing is just a simple handheld radio. These things here, they have decent range. I have a dash mounted one now, which you don't necessarily need, but just a handheld radio. If you're in a group or you have multiple people with you, it's a great way to communicate with the people, the other rigs and all that stuff in your group. And I think that's essential. If you were to be in the back and you have a flat or something and somebody in the front doesn't see it or whatever, you can get a hold of the people that are in your group. So, and then now I've been doing this a while, and I've got Starlink now, and that is definitely something that you do not need, but it's nice to have, but you definitely don't need it. So I would definitely suggest, if you're just starting out and getting going in this thing, simple satellite communication device of some sort so that you can stay in contact with the people back home or whatever, and letting people know where you're going to go in the first place. That's just planning 101.
Now, if you have followed our channel for a period of time, you know one of my big things is emergency communications. So I absolutely agree with Matt on having satellite communications. We use the Zoleo. We're not sponsored by them. We're not supported by them. We bought this. It was about $200, and the service plan is about $13-14 a month, if I remember right. And same as the SpotX that he uses, one button check-in, one button SOS. I can get emergency help. This has been, I wouldn't say it's been a lifesaver for us because we've never been in that situation, but when we're out and do as I say, not as I do, right? We go out by ourselves quite often. Somebody knows where we are. They know where we're supposed to be. They know where we're at. We check in the morning, we check in at lunch, we check in when we get to camp at night. Somebody always knows where we're at and where we're supposed to be, so that should we not check in, they'll start trying to contact us. And if they can't reach us, they know we're in trouble, and somebody knows how to get help to us. So emergency communications, absolutely critical when you're out there. Now, one more thing I want to add, and this came up because I give a lot of talks at expos and things, and a lot of people ask me, what's the number one thing that you need to consider before doing overland adventures? And I had to think about it for a while, and my answer is the means to get yourself out of a situation. Now, often that means financial means. It may mean that you have a friend that's got a truck and a trailer and will come get you no matter where you're at, any time of the day or night, and that's great. Other times it means having a credit card with enough available balance on it to pay for problems, to get you recovered when you're 1,800 miles away from home up on a mountain and you need a truck to come get you and pull you off, and then you need to get your trailer repaired in order to get home. Yes, that's exactly what happened to us. And we had the financial means to deal with that. Maybe it means having the money in the bank, whatever that means to you, to have the means to get yourself out of any situation. The last thing you need is a breakdown somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and it's a $2,500 recovery bill, which is not uncommon in some places, and you don't have the money to pay for that. What are you going to do? So always be prepared, always be thinking about things like that, and making sure you know how you're going to get out of a situation should something come up. Now, one more bonus tip for you. So Lucas has a final tip for you all, and Lucas says you need a dog. A dog is a crucial part of any overlanding trip. You should never leave home without one, and it is absolutely of vital importance that you always have one with you at all times. You right, buddy? Yep. All right. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Huge thanks to Dewie, to Tyler, and Matt for participating in this video. I think you guys did a bang-up job of thinking a little outside the box from the basics, vehicle, food and water, and shelter, and using your experiences to help others know what they should be doing and thinking about before they start overlanding. Now, you guys that are watching this, put in the notes in the description or put in the comments below what you think are some things that you never leave home without, that you think are absolutely mandatory things before you go out and hit a trail or go out for an extended camping trip. Love to hear what you guys have to say. So from all of us, be safe out there, and we'll see you on the trails.